is absolutely wild as Vern Gagne's All-Star Wrestling goes coast to coast and continent to continent. The greatest wrestlers in the world.
He may be an apprentice carpenter, but I guarantee you he is a seasoned ring veteran.
I've been hit with bar stools, bar rags, barmaids.
I'm talking to you.
They're scared that Hulkamania's still running wild. Oh, yeah. I got a big fat wife and 9 kids at home, and I gotta feed them.
And take a look at Jesse the Body in real life.
Open your hand once, if you would.
You want the stick?
This is absolutely unbelievable. Totally, completely out of control.
He's coming in over the top. Hey! Look out!
I have to admit that open pops me every single time because I look at it, I'm like, so many little comments I can make from every little promo and every little line in that. So many great promos from what we consider to be the preeminent #1 territory in history of the wrestling business, the AWA. We are AWA Unleashed. Therefore, we are the self-proclaimed preeminent #1 podcast dedicated to reliving the memories and telling the stories of the AWA. My name is Chris Tubbs. This is like Sesame Street, right? One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong because Slick Mick, he worked for Vern Gagne, cost Vern a lot of money. Joe Chupik, he also worked for Vern Gagne. I don't know if he cost Vern a lot of money. And me, I'm just sitting here making no money talking about wrestling. So you guys both have Vern. I have you guys.
I want to point something out as far as me, costing Vern a lot of money. I may have, but it certainly isn't with the paychecks that he sent me. If I cost him money, it was in other areas. It certainly wasn't my salary, so to speak. The checks are still bouncing. The Super Bowl of checks were made out to me.
We're Super Bowl.
And I was able to give Vern, I actually made the last dollars that Vern made from the AWA. I had a hand in it. So I'm the anti-Karch.
Wow.
Just saying.
So you basically, you took the last dollar or you made the last dollar for him?
I because of me and a couple of others, the last dollars that Vern earned off of the AWA was because of my work.
Good.
Wow.
Good. Yeah, that's
Good for
great.
you,
Put that on a resume.
It hasn't gotten me anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, I'm going to start calling you the anti-Karch now.
There we go. Please do.
The Karch and the anti-Karch. Oh my gosh. Hey, welcome in everybody. This is going to be a fun one because we had such a response for our super cards for number 200. And we had done things like this before, but we kind of put some guardrails in place. This was kind of, hey, you book anybody that had worked in the AWA. You book them. Doesn't matter the match. Doesn't matter the opponent. As long as they had, they had those AWA connections in some way, shape, or form. So we are going to continue on our way here in a moment. And the reason that we're going to do this, guys, is when we ask for input, there's so much that I don't want to ask people for their input and then only have like maybe 2 or 3 cards. Like I want to give everybody the rub. I want to give everybody the shine because if they're going to go through the effort of putting it together, like coming up with the concept and putting it together and sending it, then I think everybody ought to get their shine.
So can we call it the Tubbs rub?
It's a tub and rub, yes. Or is that a tug and rub? It's a Tubbs tug. I don't know. God, I don't know.
Make sure you got some paper towels. Go ahead, Mick.
No. Well, one thing that we're going to do before that, if you don't want to hear us talking about a Tubbsy Rubsy here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a graphic for you. And I think you guys are going to like this because I really like it. It's our pinfall membership, $4.99 a month. You get the podcast a day early. You get our monthly video watch along, which we are going to record actually right after this. And so if you are a pinfall member, you've already gotten our February watch along. Mystery Science Theater 3000 meets professional wrestling. You get the Back to Ringside with Mick and myself, where we're talking about some of the current information, the current wrestling business. And by the way, we've got a concept that we've been pitching around, the three of us, before we started, that is going to involve a combination of old school and new school that we're going to want your guys' input with that. So getting our Back to Ringside is probably a pretty good way to maybe get a primer for that. You get the personalized thank you letter with a sticker and a magnet from me, and then you get a 5-pack of Slick Mix picks. So we've got that. We've also got our TeePublic, where you can get your AWA merchandise, your AWA Unleashed merchandise. Let me make that clear. And then all sorts of fun things there. So I think I've got everything there. Is there anything that I have missed? Because I know when we start these cards, we are going to kind of cruise through things. So have I missed anything on the front side before I hit the back?
You have aced it.
Okay. Al DeRoche's bowling tournament.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell us about this, Joe.
So I got a text from one of his sons, and if there's the link right there, but you can go to our Facebook page as well, and we'll have a link there. This is to sponsor the Al DeRoche Bowling Tournament. Please help support this fundraiser for the Midwest Showman's Foundation by donating to the bowling tournament named in the honor of the one and only Al DeRoche. The Midwest Showman's is part of the carnival industry. It's one of the groups that Al was involved with for many, many years. In fact, Al is buried at the Midwest Showman's graveyard, or the area in the graveyard that he had. That's how important Al was to the industry and how much Al appreciated the industry. So you got a few bucks and you want to do it, go to the Cheddar Up. Well, you can see the link there. And again, it'll be on our Facebook page as well. It'll be a link to you enter in your name and email, and then I'm guessing that'll get you into pushing in your donation.
Yeah, even just a couple of bucks. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big amount, just anything to kind of pay it forward to Al DeRoche, who, man, I never got a chance to meet him, but just the couple of times that I talked to him, man, he, and I know it was later on in life, he just seemed like just a cool dude, just a cool, good-hearted human being.
He was, and as Al would say, go ahead to that Facebook gimmick and click on that link gimmick to do the donation gimmick.
So there you go. And I know we've got some really big Al DeRoche fans that follow the podcast. So yeah, just anything you can do to help the memory of Al DeRoche. And again, we'll have it on AWA Unleashed Fans, that Facebook page. Just go to that, and the link will be there. And we'll post it a couple of different times to make sure that it pops up. Maybe we'll even pin it. I hear that pinning a post is a thing. So
beautiful.
All right. I'm going to take that off. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to step back. I know we got a lot of pictures. And, oh, by the way, the gimmick, the Tubbsy Shivani, it's from Back to Ringside. That Mick said I look like Tony Schiavone, so I did the whole Tubbsy Shivani thing. Anyway, I'm going to get to the back. I'm going to let you guys rock and roll with it.
Perfect. Hey, we're going to get started with, I don't know, this is Super Card 6 or 7 after we did the first week, but for this episode, it's number 1. And it comes from Travis Bird. His first match, some guy named Hulk Hogan. And I'll wait, there we go. Hulk Hogan, you may have heard of this guy. I think he might have drawn a dime or two in the business. Against somebody that he mimicked himself after, and that's superstar Billy Graham.
You know, I think that there's been kind of a mix and match, Joe, with superstar Hulk Hogan and even Jesse Ventura in the mix. There was kind of a matchup that was repeated by several submissions, but Travis Bird, absolutely. Boy, in their day, two of the most charismatic guys in the history of the business, Hulk Hogan and superstar Billy Graham. That's a pick 'em, depending on what arena you were in, although I would think Hulk would probably go over. Just guessing.
Be my guess as well. And, as far as this one, or in fact, our next match that has been repeated by other ones, it's fine. I mean, we're talking about Nick Bockwinkel versus Ric Flair. It's fine. It's what you, the fans, want to see. But to me, that's a testament as to how great I think that those matches would be. Give the fans what they want. And in this case, this would have been fantastic to see at the old Civic Center.
Yeah, and we're not glossing over these matches. If we've had them on the show before, if we've talked about them, we're not going to go ad nauseum into the nuts and bolts of the matches. But we definitely are recognizing, like Joe said, these are what you want to see, and I'm guessing a host of wrestling fans would want to see. There you see Nixter and Rickster talking behind the scenes, and that would be, depending on where it was. Well, no, it didn't even depend on where it was. You've got a 60-minute Broadway, or you got guys going over the top rope.
And I think what's great about this is you got two guys that, depending on who you talk to, you can make a legitimate argument that the best of all time. You can make the case for Nick. You can make the case for Rick. And I think that's what makes this match. And I think that's why it's so popular, because you've got two guys that you could really take claim to that. And I wouldn't have a case for an argument against either one.
Yep. Well said. And, it's interesting. We don't see Hogan in that mix. We hear Bockwinkel Flair a lot. We don't hear like Hogan Bockwinkel, because it happened, of course, or Hogan Flair. So Rick is kind of, the odd man out when it comes to, the trifecta of greatness, I guess, in the history of the business. What's Travis got next?
Another match that I believe we've had put up before, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, the Japanese Destruction Crew. I just made that up. Versus... drum roll, versus two guys who thought they were Iron Men.
Wow. We've talked about that one before. I don't think there would be a lot of selling in that matchup, Brody and Hansen and the Road Warriors. I think that would be, as JR says, a slobber knocker with a capital S. And we have talked about that one before. Two of the greatest tag teams in history and legendary in Japan. That match would take place in Japan. Tokyo Dome.
Oh, let's fly over, Mick.
There you go.
Oh, the next one, Master versus Protege. The one and only George, don't call me Baron von Raschke Clooney, versus Mad Dog Vachon, who... but he created Baron von Raschke.
He took Jim Raschke from Nebraska, kind of a milquetoast baby face at best. Great technical skills, but kind of personality-less. And he worked with him in Canada, came up with the Baron von Raschke gimmick. And of course, they were tag team partners. Both as heels and as baby faces eventually here in the AWA. I like the matchup. And that depending on when it was, I'm going to guess this one would probably have to take place in the 70s when both were at the top of their game. You got another bloodbath here. Certainly the dog would have gigged. We know that. And I'd buy a ticket for this one.
Yeah, Baron would color every once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
He wasn't afraid to, just didn't do it nearly as often as the dog.
Well, what do we got next?
The last match, it's a four-way dance. The eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, is participant number one. Next is, I'm going to say, Handsome Harley Race, because that was his prime. The next is Mr. Radio Shack.
Oh, Jesus.
The boombox guy.
God.
And then the fourth participant would be the man of 1,000 holds, Billy Robinson. So you've got the boombox guy who could get twisted into 37 directions by Billy Robinson. Harley Race, who I can just see him sitting in the corner with a cigarette. Go beat him up. And then Andre just squashes the shit out of him. And then Harley comes in for the 1, 2, 3 at the end over the prone, lifeless body of the boombox guy. I like that.
I'm guessing that in Travis's mind, he was probably envisioning a 3-on-1 beatdown. And I'm suggesting that perhaps the boombox guy's batteries might have needed changing at the end of that one. Boy, if he thought that Rene Goulet bounced that boombox off a ring post, this would be something to see. Have a spatula and gloves and paper towel at ringside, because you're going to scrape up one rock and roller.
My delay is I'm just watching the match in my head, particularly the finish. But okay, the next person to have a submission is Dale Amon. Dale only submitted one match, but he goes into a little bit of detail. His match would be Vern Gagne. By the way, both and all of these are the wrestlers in their prime. Keep that in mind.
Yep.
So it could be a 1965 version versus a 1988 version of Bert Hennig. And Dale describes their styles had some similarities, so it would have been fun, maybe even a Broadway. Although, did Vern ever do a 60-minute match other than against Lou Thez? I'm going to probably say yes on more than one occasion. Plus, the two-family angle would have been limitless. I'll leave it with that one and listen to the rest. Keep up the fight.
Wow. For one match, this is a damn good match to have on Dale's submission. You're looking at both guys in their prime. Vern Gagne, again, I'm going to say Vern's prime was 1960s into the early 70s, maybe just barely into the early 70s. And of course, Vern had started in the 1950s. If you're putting Vern against the 1988-89 version of Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, you got one hell of a match. And again, you're right. The lineage, the family lineage says it all right there. I would venture to say that Vern would not have done the job to Mr. Perfect, but I think Curt would have bumped his ass off for Vern Gagne.
The only thing I'd add to that match is you got to have Larry in Kurt's corner and Greg in Vern's corner.
Of course. Yep. Good call. Thank you, Dale.
All right, let's move on to our third submission. This one comes from Christopher Brooks. And once again, we've got Hulk Hogan versus superstar Billy Graham.
Again, it's kind of interesting, because these guys were almost overlapping in their careers. By the time Hulk arrived and made a splash on the scene, Billy Graham was doing his god-awful karate gimmick, which did not fit him at all. But in their prime, you've got a super main event, big money main event. And again, I would say in their prime, Hulk would go over. But you never know. You could have the double DQ kind of situation there too. But yeah, this was kind of a popular repeated matchup, Hogan and Superstar.
Yeah, and I think our next match, I know that we haven't had it before, but I think it did happen in the NWA. We're talking about the great Indian chief, half Choctaw, half Chickasaw Indian, Wahoo McDaniel versus the man with the
Hands of Stone.
Hands of Stone, thank you, Ronnie Garvin.
It's interesting that not to denigrate Ronnie Garvin because he was a great worker, certainly rock solid veteran. I'm kind of surprised to see Ronnie Garvin on anybody's supercard. But, again, that's, probably because Ronnie Garvin's stint in the AWA was limited to the Super Clash events. Ronnie Garvin, very, very tough guy. Wahoo McDaniel, certainly a tough guy. Both of them mastered the chop pretty well, as I recall. Ronnie Garvin with probably, outside of the Crusher Bolo, maybe the worst finishing maneuvers, if you can call it that, the Garvin Stomp in the in the history of wrestling. But yeah, down on the southern part of the United States, Southeastern Territory, I am sure that those two butted heads many, many times.
Yeah, and I've said it before, even though the Crusher is my all-time favorite for a variety of reasons, the Bolo Punch. Moving on.
Yeah.
We've had this tag team matchup before, I believe. We've got Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Midnight Rockers, versus the High Flyers.
You know, I think about that match, and Joe, I don't know about you, but I'm guessing. Well, first I was going to say the Rockers would be the subtle heels, but I don't know. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, depending on just what year the match was, 1980s Midnight Rockers at the height of their career, 1970s High Flyers. Let's say the match is in St. Paul. Who's the crowd going for? What do you say? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'd take both of them right at the start of their careers. The Rockers, when they formed, Shawn Michaels was 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
When he started with the Rockers. And actually, no, he would have been 20 because we're born in the same year. But the High Flyers were over when they first burst onto the scene as well. So I don't know. But I do know this would have been a fantastic technical match.
Yes, no question about it. No doubt about it. And Gagne and Brunzell probably would have led the way, would have been kind of the ring generals and the producers, directors of how that match played out. But good stuff, no question.
Yeah, next match. We've had some variety of this, but Vern Gagne.
Love that picture, by the way.
That is good. Versus Ric Flair.
Okay, and again, you've got the student-teacher matchup. Ric Flair, of course, brought into the business by Vern Gagne some, 53 years ago, 54 years ago, give or take. And again, at their prime. Early on, it wouldn't have been a matchup. It would have been Vern, squashing Ric Flair. But in their prime, let's say you have a dual championship match, I think you've got the same finish, Joe, as all the other, inter-promotional championship matches. They go over the top rope or, something like that, or time limit draw. But that was one I would like to have seen, that one. Gagne and Flair in their prime.
Agreed. And then the last match submitted by Christopher Brooks is Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Okay, look at Stan there. Love it.
Versus the man who made Milwaukee famous, the Crusher.
Wow.
I will say this before you get into it, Mick. The promos leading up to that match from both guys would have been fantastic.
They would have been. And you think about the subplot there. Stan's got a big fat wife at home, and then Crusher's got Wanda. So you kind of got, could be an interesting mixed tag match there too. Again, you have to envision this in their prime. And for fans who did not see the Crusher as a heel in his prime, that was Crusher. Crusher was a monstrous heel. If you're taking Crusher at his babyface peak, I'd say you're looking late 60s, early 1970s. Stan Hansen was Stan Hansen from beginning to end. This, I would say the ringside floor would have seen a lot more action than the ring canvas or mat itself. One hell of a brawl.
And that is the last match from Christopher Brooks. We'll move on to submission number 4, and this is from Kevin Tooley. His first match, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon.
What a character there. Love that.
Versus Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Stan returns once again. And again, at their prime, you might in your head envision Oh my God, Dog doesn't have a chance. Look at the size difference. Dog is about 5'9" or 5'8", and Stan Hansen 6'3", 300 pounds. Joe, I think you're probably like me. Can you not imagine the Mad Dog? And I'm going to go with babyface Mad Dog here, just because he was still wrestling the same style. Can you imagine him biting the nose of Stan Hansen, getting him in the corner, hitting him with that series of chops, raking at the eyes, the crowd going absolutely apeshit, and Stan selling his ass off for Mad Dog Vachon?
I can imagine that, actually. And of course Mad Dog would be biting his nose, his ears, his fingers, and everything else. The one thing with Mad Dog, yes, he was diminutive compared to a lot of the other guys. I remember his death matches against Big John Studd with the hard punch, thinking he doesn't have a chance. But Mad Dog was able to hold his own. I compare Mad Dog to like a Chihuahua.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a little fluffy poodle, they're going to be friendly. I'll see you, okay, come on over. If it's a Chihuahua, those things are just mean and nasty, and you don't mess with the Chihuahua. And Mad Dog, he was more fierce than a Chihuahua. So don't underestimate the dog, because you know why? He was in the mines, deep in the mines, making him strong.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, this next match from Kevin Tooley, I got to believe that he just did this to spite Tubbsy.
Yeah, I think so.
But good for you, Kevin Tooley.
Oh.
Del Wilkes, the Trooper. Well, this would have been his the Patriot gimmick.
This was the Patriot gimmick. See, that's how I look every time I see a picture of Del Wilkes.
Hey,
that's my inside feelings coming outside.
Let's not speak ill of the deceased.
Go ahead. I personally enjoyed his work in the ring, but we had seen a glimpse of him. We got Patriot, or the Trooper, Del Wilkes versus the Strongman, Ken Patera.
You know, I think in this case, where you're talking about the prime of their careers, when Del Wilkes came into the AWA, Ken was still here, but he certainly was not in the prime of his career. So if you take 1970s Ken Patera and put him against Del Wilkes, the Trooper, yeah, it's a so-so match. Kind of surprising, but I'm with you, Joe. I'm thinking the only reason that Kevin has put that one in there is to take a shot at our illustrious host.
Well, and the funny thing is, like Kevin sent me a message. He's like, "Hey, did Mick get my card?" Yeah, Kevin, he got it. He got it.
Moving on.
Well, I got to make one comment about Ken Patera. I mean, look at the picture. Look how shredded he is. If you take a look at what he looked like when he was powerlifting in the Olympics, powerlifters are not shredded. Yeah, they're muscular and they're strong, but they're sort of like a strong version of the Pillsbury Doughboy. But look at the definition on Ken. I give him, yes, he's admitted that he did some steroids, he juiced up, but you don't just get those muscles by taking steroids. You need to work at it. So I'm just giving a shout out to Ken, because I mean, look at the quads. I mean, wow.
Look at the deltoids.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah, and I love, Joe, you did this. It reminded me of Hans and Franz when you did that.
Franz, you're Franz.
And to add just a note about Ken Patera, one of the greatest heels in the history of the business. So understated. When you think about the great heels, but boy, I'll put him up there with guys like Don Morocco, who I think was vastly underrated as one of the greatest heels in the business. I think the difference is Ken Patera, that was typecasting. as they say. But
even so, I agree with you. I will take the heel version of Ken Patera over the babyface version of Ken Patera.
Oh,
I understand why. I understand why he went babyface at the end. He didn't have his definition, and you're older. It's tough to be a 50-year-old heel in the business. And so, okay, let's do the whole Olympic thing. He tag team with Brad Ringens. They were the Olympians. They won the AWA Tag Team Championship. It made sense, but no, give me the heel, Ken, please.
That is a no-brainer. That's without question.
Yep. The next match is a tag, and I believe we've had this one before, or a variation of it. The Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk, the Road Warriors, versus the High Criers, Jack.
In their prime, it's interesting because, again, on paper, or to the cynics and the critics of Greg Gagne, particularly, and his size, would say, "Oh, come on, that's not even a contest." The question is how much Animal and Hawk would sell for the High Flyers. 1970s, early 1980s High Flyers against Animal and Hawk, mid 1980s. I don't think there would be a lot of selling by the Road Warriors, which may or may not frustrate at least one half of the High Flyers. It would be an entertaining matchup. Let's leave it at that. It would be entertaining.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that match may have happened in Winnipeg. For whatever reason, I could be wrong. If I am, I'm admitting it now, but something in the back of my mind thinks that before Jim left for the WWF at the time, that match may have happened. And I think it may have been in Winnipeg. I'm not sure. Anyway.
And if it did before Jim left for the WWF, then I would guess that Animal and Hawk would have at least been cast as the heels in the tag match. But yeah, interesting to say the least.
Yeah, they were. That would have had to have been 84.
Yeah.
Or maybe early. I'm trying to remember when Jim left. I think he left late 84.
Something like that, or into early 85.
Yeah, because he wasn't on. Well, Wrestle Rock was 86. So anyway, moving on, we've got another tag team. We're going to go with the father and son duo of Larry and Kurt versus one of my favorite AWA tag teams, the Destruction Crew. And Mick, unlike Wayne Bloom, I'm going to let you handle this.
I very much appreciate that.
Hold on a sec, Mick. Hold up. Kidding. Go ahead.
No, I knew you were going to do that. This is kind of interesting because it's about the same time period, give or take, maybe a couple of years before Wayne and Mike made their mark in the AWA. You got four Minnesota boys. To say the least. You got the Gopher State going on. You got Larry sitting there. Larry apparently one of the few times in his life was camera shy. Here as he's looking at Kurt lifting the weights. The Destruction Crew, we've said they were a shining light in the dying days of the AWA. One of the few really, really top-notch things going. Larry and Kurt teamed up mid-1980s, late 1980s here, so both teams in their prime. Again, the time frame is pretty damn close, so you could certainly envision this match, and I do like the Gopher feel to that tag match.
Yeah, three of the four were in their prime around at the same time. Let's throw in the 1970 version of Larry Hennig. Would have been for an interesting match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The last submission, this is like our last match submission of Kevin Tooley. I'm sensing a trend that's going to be moving into our next guy. We've got Vernon Gregg on, and no, it's not as a tag team. Kevin Tooley wants to see Vern versus Greg.
If Kevin Tooley is talking about Vern 1965 versus Greg 1975, that again is a no-brainer. I mean, to people who did not see Vern Gagne in his prime, Joe, I've talked about this before. Vern was magic. I mean, he wasn't luchador type doing the planchas and the hurricane ranas, but when Vern hit you with a drop kick, it meant something. When he put you in the sleeper chokehold, that meant something as well. And then Greg kind of following suit, if you think about it.
Do you have to clear your throat, Mick? I thought I heard a joke there.
Yeah, a little bit of one. Might have been right under the chin, kind of the end of the Adam's apple area. But needless to say, Greg followed suit. It was the drop kick and the sleeper hold. And that was Greg's forte as well. Prime versus prime, you got to go with Vern Gagne. And if you're going to set that matchup, then Greg has to be the son, the ungrateful son who turns on his father and says he is better than his dad ever was.
Greg definitely would have been the heel in that match. No questions asked there. So I said we're sort of starting a trend with that match, and it'll be explained further in submission number 5. And these are all from Michael Velasco. In the first match, I'm not going to do the first name and second, although we'll show the pictures. The first match he's calling for is Animal versus Hawk.
How many times do you think people have speculated about that one over the years, Joe? In fantasy booking or whatever. Does it matter who's babyface and who's heel? It really doesn't. No, I'm not going to pick a winner in that one. I don't think you can. I'm guessing again. 5 minutes into it, they're battling back to the locker room and concession stand and everything else, and out to Wally's Lincoln Continental and who knows what else. Animal and Hawk has always kind of been a fantasy dream match for a lot of wrestling fans.
And the next match, staying on the same theme, Michael moves into another tag team going head-to-head. This one is Pretty Boy Larry Hennig versus Handsome Harley Race.
This is interesting, too, because if you're looking at the Larry Hennig and Harley Race both had great careers, into the 70s, into the 80s. If I'm going to pigeonhole it to 1960s AWA, where they were both heels turning on each other, hell of a matchup. You fast forward to when Harley Race was NWA, a world heavyweight champion. If Larry Hennig challenges Harley Race, Harley's going to go over for the NWA title. What's interesting is right before Harley went to the WWF, they had started to tease a feud between Larry Hennig and Harley Race because Harley was beating up on Curt Hennig. Mm-hmm. They started teasing the feud a little bit here in the AWA, but it never came to fruition. So that match may have been more logical and more on deck than we imagined.
You are 100% on that one. The next match, Michael Velasco, we can see it's going to be Bruiser versus Crusher, but he adds in an additional comment that the match had to be in the Twin Cities and Crusher would be the face. By the way, a face that only a mother could love looking at that photo.
What a great shot that is. Tough guys, old school, no nonsense pro wrestling, no glitz, no glamour, no pyro. You didn't need it. They made their own pyro. Crusher, had they gone head to head, and again, this is mid 1960s, maybe into the early 1970s. They wrestle here in the Twin Cities. Crusher is definitely over as the baby face. If they wrestle in Chicago, I'm not so sure about that. If they wrestle in Indianapolis, I'm not so sure. If they wrestle in Milwaukee, Crusher is the baby face. But that's another That's another absolute fantasy booking. Dreams are made of that one. Crusher against Dick the Bruiser.
I agree. I loved your analysis of the location, and I think you were spot on with that. Chicago and Indianapolis, Bruiser would have been the babyface per the crowd. Twin Cities and Milwaukee, definitely. I mean, we know of the feud between the Bears and the Packers, so that even though it's Green Bay, I know, but the Milwaukee, Chicago, they're so close together that they legitimately hate each other. As much of a hatred that you think that there is between Packers and Vikings fans, it's times 10 when it comes to Green Bay and the Bears.
Yeah, no question. And I like the way he went with this card too, putting the tag teams against each other.
Well, speaking of that, the next tag team that he wants to see go face to face, Jesse Ventura against Adrian Adonis. Again, this one in the Twin Cities, and interestingly enough, with Jesse as the face.
Wow. Yeah, I can see where he would have Jesse as the face, because whether they build him from San Diego or not, Jesse, everybody knew Jesse was from Minneapolis, so he might have the crowd behind him. When we're talking Adrian Adonis, of course, we are not talking the late 1980s Adrian Adonis, not the 400-pounder. We're talking about this Adrian Adonis that you're looking right there, part of the East-West connection. That, again, would be a very interesting matchup. I'm not so sure, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not so sure that Jesse would have been the babyface in that one. There may have been, some crowd warmth and support for adorable Adrian. What do you think?
Well, Jesse in his prime, to me, and I'm going to go refer back to the comment that I made about Ken Patera. Jesse in his prime, there's absolutely no way I can see him as a babyface.
Right.
If Jesse had to leave the business early because of some health issues, but if Jesse would have wrestled to be older, into his late 40s, then I could see a babyface version of Jesse Ventura. The older, more seasoned guy, not as well put together, but. Again, we're using the premise of them all of these wrestlers in their prime. And in their prime, I can't put Jesse Ventura in as a babyface. I just don't see that working.
100% agree with you. And Adrian Adonis, even at 250 pounds, and Adrian was never a small guy, but in his prime, working as part of the East-West, this guy was tremendous. He would bump his ass off. Adrian Adonis, to me, one of the most underrated guys in the AWA's history, and would have been an interesting matchup, no doubt.
And for the record, Adrian Adonis went off of the top of the cage before Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Boom. Yep.
And the last match from Michael Velasco, Wayne Bloom versus Mike Enos. And he adds, Mike has had enough. And Mike is going to be the babyface.
And I would agree with that. And I always envisioned that happening. Had the AWA stayed around a little bit longer and had these two not become the Beverly Brothers or Minnesota Wrecking Crew #2 or, whatever they were. There's no doubt. This would have been a great matchup, but you could see the slow burn, kind of like when Ray Stevens was booted out of the Heenan family. Where they wouldn't let him talk. Finally, Mike has had enough. He kind of explodes, and definitely Mike Enos would have been the babyface in this matchup. And two great guys, by the way. God, I wish we could get them on the podcast.
If the AWA would have survived a little longer, or if the Destruction Crew would have come in a little bit earlier, I'm going to say I would all but guarantee that match would have happened. That Mike would have
no doubt
finally has had enough and just gone off of the rails and attacked Wayne Bloom. I have no doubt about that.
No doubt.
Okay, our seventh submission comes from Sean Gold. And, well, we're going to stay on this whole theme. because the first match that he has is Ken Patera versus Big Bad Bobby Duncum.
Wow, the black and blue, head to head. There's old Ken once again, looking cut and shredded, as you said, Joe. His opponent, Big Bad Bobby Duncum. Bobby, God bless him. We lost Bobby not that long ago. I'm not sure that we have a picture. Oh, there they go. There's the black and blue right there. In that one, I would say you take it around the horn in the AWA, and Bobby Duncum is your babyface. I think, both of these guys were brawlers, no question about it. But as I said earlier on, was there a more nasty heel that came to him? It came to him naturally than Ken Patera. I can't see Ken Patera in his prime years in the AWA as a heel being anything but.
Nothing more to add other than you're right. I agree with everything that you just said. And can we burn that segment of the tape? Because I don't want that to be on record that I...
What, that you agreed with me on something?
Yeah.
Well, you agree with me that we're underpaid.
Sure.
Okay. Next match. Yellow.
Versus...
Oh, there we go.
Vader versus the Mountain from Stone Mountain, Georgia, Jerry Blackwell. You know what? I love this matchup. I think that would have been an absolutely fantastic run. Vader literally punished his opponents. Jerry could take it, then Jerry could also dish it out. Just ask Bruiser Brody.
I'll tell you what, when we're talking about that matchup, I'm looking babyface Jerry Blackwell.
Yeah.
Heel versus heel, yeah, you would have a brawl, no question about it, but it's very easy to envision a sympathetic babyface in Jerry Blackwell going against Vader, not Leon White, going against Vader, who liked to punish guys in the ring, legitimately, liked to shoot on them. I'm not so sure, Joe, that he would have gotten away with it with Jerry Blackwell. Jerry, honest to God, you watch some of these chair shots and ring bell shots and everything that Jerry took over the years. The guy didn't flinch. I mean, he was legitimately a big, strong country boy. And as a babyface, when he turned in the AWA, one of the most massive babyface pops I've ever heard, that would be one hell of a match. Nobody would give any quarter or ask any in that one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did not Jerry Blackwell compete in the World's Strongest Man competition?
Yeah, he did. And
that gives you... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think he got hurt early on. I'm not sure. I know that Ken Patera also competed. But yeah, that gives you an idea of how strong Jerry was.
And the other comment I'll make about Jerry is very similar to the stories that I've heard of Andre, where Andre knew that he was not going to live a long life. So he enjoyed himself, drank, a couple of cases of beer, a couple of bottles of wine a day, throwing some cognac. Andre said, fuck it, I'm going to die early. I'm going to enjoy what I've got. There's a part of me that thinks that Jerry Blackwell thought the same thing. Even though his end came as a result of a car accident, Jerry had all kinds of health issues. You're not going to be a legitimate 400 pounds and live to see Social Security. And if you are, you're one of the very rare cases. So I bring that up because you brought up the chair shots and the punishment that Jerry took and dished out. It was like, you know what? I'm going to put it all on the line. I don't hit me as hard as you want with the chair. As long as I'm still awake, I'm going to come back and beat the shit out of you.
And it's interesting too, Joe, to your point about how Andre knew the end was near, so he just did whatever he was going to do, like Ray Stevens, for example, with the smoking and drinking right to the bitter end. Jerry was kind of like that. I knew people who would see Jerry Blackwell at 2-3 o'clock in the morning at a 24-hour grocery store, and Jerry was loading up on the snacks, and he was diabetic. And he did himself no favors, but I think he had that same mentality. we're only here for a short time. I'm going to do what I want.
Yep. Moving on to our next match. It is BADD, Bad Company, versus the High Flyers.
Bad Company, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, very underrated. Again, towards the end of the AWA run, they were a rock solid tag team. Went out east, as I recall, under some different names. Would have been a good matchup, but in their prime, I don't think there's any question about this.
Or Orient Express in WWE.
There you go. Yep, the Orient Express.
By the way, I got a comment on this promo picture quick. It's misspelled.
It is. Where's the other D?
Yep, that's copyright infringement on the classic rock band.
Yeah, it certainly is. Would have been a great matchup because all four guys could go. And Tanaka and Diamond is very, very underrated. The High Flyers goes without saying. One of the greatest babyface tag teams of all time. Would have been a good one. Both teams in their prime.
And I got to include that. You got to include their manager into the mix, Diamond Dallas Page.
Absolutely, DDP just getting his feet wet in the business.
And of course, the Diamond Dolph.
Yeah, yeah.
Our next match from Sean Gold. And he does emphasize that these two would be in their prime. That is Maurice Mad Dog Vachon and Paul the Butcher Vachon versus the Road Warriors.
Wow. I think you go back to what we said earlier on about Mad Dog being in the ring with Stan Hansen. Don't let the size fool you. In their prime, and I love this. This is even before their AWA run, the Vachon brothers. In their prime, Mad Dog and Butcher would not have taken any crap from the Road Warriors. I think the Animal and Hawk would be forced to sell whether they liked it or not. Butcher Vachon, Butcher was a different sort. He was a big guy, kind of a lumbering guy, strong, but not a lot of. I don't want to say he didn't have charisma, but when it came to the, defining him against Mad Dog or, separating them, the Dog was the vicious one. The Butcher Vachon was the straight ahead, plodding, no nonsense, kick and punch kind of guy. Would have been an interesting matchup in their prime. A lot of blood. Let's just put it that way. A lot of blood in that one.
Okay, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball into this, Mick. We know that the Road Warriors were managed by Precious Paul Ellering. The Vachons never had a manager, but in your opinion or in your wish list, if you were to assign a manager for the Vachons, any manager that you know of, who would you put in their corner to combat against Precious Paul?
Well, the obvious choice would be Bobby Heenan if you're going to have a go-to manager. But I don't know that Bobby would have fit in with the Vachons. I think that's a little bit different. If you're looking AWA, you're really limited on, who would go in and manage the Vachons. If you take it to a national scale, so we're expanding the playground a little bit, I could see a Lou Albano. I could see a Freddie Blassie managing the Vachons, but not Bobby Heenan.
I'm going to throw somebody out there. Luna Vachon.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
Again, if you were able to take, the late 80s, early 90s version of Luna and put her with the 70s version of Maurice and Paul, that would have been crazy personified.
I like it. Like it, Joe.
Okay, the next match from Sean Gold is the man from Manchester, England, Billy Robinson, versus the legendary Lou Thez.
I would have loved to have seen this match in their prime. Billy Robinson, well-known shooter, did what he wanted to do in the ring, and if you didn't cooperate with Billy Robinson, it was a long night for you or a short night, depending on how you want to look at it. Lou Thez, one of the great hookers, and I mean that from a wrestling standpoint, in history. Lou Thez would tie you in knots, untie you, and tie you up again if he wanted to. I think in their prime, as tough as Billy Robinson was, Lou Thez is wrestling, I think, into his 80s in Japan. As tough as Billy Robinson was, I think Lou might have taken him to school.
I would agree with you. Even though, Lou was before my time, the stories are sort of on the same level as Harley Race, where you just didn't fuck with those two guys. That's the simplest way that I could put it.
And Lou defended the business. He defended to the ultimate. When Eddie Mansfield and Jim Wilson went on and they were exposing the wrestling business, Lou Thez was the guy that would appear via satellite and ask Eddie Mansfield, do you want to get in the ring? Mm-hmm. You want to get in the ring with me and see how predetermined this was? And of course, Eddie Mansfield, would reply, well, if it wasn't, predetermined, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, Lou Thez was a shooter, a hooker, and this one Billy might have a little bit of a problem with.
Agreed. Sean submits a bonus match. This would be his 6th one. And he is specific on the years. Again, these are guys in their prime. They're, of course, Eddie Sharkey, and Sean calls for the 1965 version of Eddie Sharkey. This could be very close to that time. Versus a 1985 version of Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal.
It's interesting because as I look at all the submissions, both from last week's show and today, this is one match I would have loved to have seen. Eddie Sharkey, 1965 version in his prime against Steve Regal. Eddie, no question about it, would be the baby face. Both of these guys could go, for their size. There was a lot of charisma in that ring between the two of them. Eddie, of course, was kind of a ladies' man. The fans love her. The female contingent loved Eddie Sharkey. Steve Regal, he had that arrogant heel Fort Lauderdale persona. I would have loved to have seen that. That's a tremendous curtain jerker for a match, and that's not to denigrate an opening match. Boy, you talk about having to follow these two guys, that would have been something.
I love that as an opening match on any of the cards that we did today or last week.
Great stuff. Thank you, folks. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And that will do it. Boy, I'm glad you guys kind of took the reins with that. Really, you guys did a fantastic job explaining that. And I was actually balancing the checkbook and making sure that you guys get a little bit of a bump in your pay, because I heard you, Joe. And I was trying to work on that and multitask because you said that you're underpaid. So we'll talk to you on that.
I never said underpaid. I just didn't say that we got paid what we would like to. There's a difference between what you'd like to get paid and what you can get paid.
Yeah.
This is the point at which I wish Terry Taylor was still around, because boy, he squeezed Paul Alperstein for bumps and pay for us like 3-4 times, and it was just, and Terry would send me a message and say, I did it again, I took care of you. So but I don't think that's going to be the case here with Tubbsy Shivani here.
All kidding aside, you guys did a fantastic job explaining that, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the super cards. It's kind of nice to get your input as to what you think and why you think it, and details in it, and letting those two guys kind of riff off of it. So great job, you guys. And we're going to do some variations of this. We'll do some old school, new school kind of combination in the forward, because I think we're going to do a little bit more of things like this. So we'll do that in the future. Let's go ahead and get some shout outs before we go ahead and bid adieu.
One of my favorite people on the planet, a regular at Cauliflower Alley Club, a former Red Bastien Friendship Award winner at CAC, because this guy is just such a devout fan and so friendly to the people in the business. Brian Westcott, shout out to you, buddy.
And my shout out goes, it's not so much the blind dart throw that I often start with. I'm going to give it to Michael Velasco, the shout out for all of the breaking up of the tag teams. I know others had a couple of matches that did that, but his entire card were, let's break these guys apart and see what happens. Would have been a unique card. Maybe it would have, if it was a pay-per-view, you could call it, I was going to say unbreakable, but it would be broke. So, yeah, I don't know.
You could almost go turning point. Oh, wait, that's already done.
Yeah.
But no, I do like his gimmick theme where it is just all about the tag teams.
Yep.
By
the way, in his Animal and Hawk match, which corner is Paul Ellering in?
There's another caveat there, buddy.
Maybe Ellering's like the special referee.
That adds even another twist to it.
I mean, mine's going to go to Twins pitcher Pablo Lopez. And I know that it's not wrestling related, you guys, but as people know, part of my job during the summertime is to do the post game and cover the Minnesota Twins. And, you know, regardless of what you think about the Twins, if you're a baseball fan, if you're not, then you're not going to, you know, this isn't going to be things that are going to resonate with you. But he's the Twins starting pitcher who had a serious elbow injury towards UCL. Tommy John out for the year. Big blow to the Twins, but I've gotten to know Pablo over the last few years. I've talked to him multiple times in the clubhouse. Just a really fantastic individual, and hoping for a successful surgery. It sounds like Tommy John's going to be on the table for him. So I'm going to see him probably in the next month or so when they come back. Home opener, obviously, I'll be at Target Field. I'll probably talk to him a little bit in the clubhouse before then. But just a shout out to Pablo Lopez, who's going to have a good 18-month recovery for baseball fans. So Pablo, it's still going to be Pablo Day, even though Pablo won't be pitching. So here's to you, my friend.
Could be a long season, buddy. Could be a long season.
Yeah. So
Target Field is my second home, really, during the summertime. I mean, I spend more time at Target Field than I probably do at home, and that's honestly kind of what my summer is. I mean, I love it. I love going to the ballpark, but man, not having your horse, that's going to be tough.
Well, when you're at the ballpark, Chris, I need to get the special effects sound of a bunch of crickets. So maybe during the fourth or fifth inning of a Twins game, you could record some audio for me.
I mean, I don't even think you have to wait till the fourth inning. You know, they've got $2 beers. I think people are going to come for the beers and probably leave before the game.
Joe, I think this would be the first time in history that the sound of crickets was actually pumped in.
Even the crickets don't want to be there.
That's right.
Hey, oh, and by the way, I was looking for a Manny Patinkin the other day, and I think I actually found a picture of Manny Patinkin because you were telling me I look like him.
Right.
Yeah, so I think I got a picture.
You son of a bitch.
Wrong one. That's all right, though.